Welcome to this episode of Dr. Ambedkar Thoughts. In our last two videos, we have discussed about the Dr. Ambedkar's views on necessity of constitutional provision for reservation and why it is necessary to have reservation in government services. We all are very well aware that in India, reservation is a very sensitive topic. The debate on reservation is the most intense, fierce and polarizing. The main reason for the hatred among the higher caste for the founder of modern India, Dr. Ambedkar, is the reservation provision he enshrined in the Constitution of India. The aim of Constitution is to establish egalitarian society by eradicating social and economic inequality. In the historical context of our country, which has witnessed social inequality for more than 3000 years, against this reality, getting constitutional provision aiming at establishing the free India based on principles of liberty, equality and fraternity, having provisions for adequate representation or reservation among the fundamental rights, in fact indicate the beginning of a bloodless social revolution in India. The strong, fierce and polarizing debate about reservation often reveals that there are many myths about the policy of reservation among the general masses. I have identified 10 such myths about the reservation policy. In the coming videos, we shall discuss in detail about these myths and try to remove them. To begin with, let us see what the Constitution says about the provision of reservation. In Part 3 on the fundamental rights of our Constitution, Article 15.4 and 15.5 provide for reservation in educational institutions, both public and private, for SC, ST and OBCs. Article 16.4, there is a reservation in public services. Article 335 says the claims of the members of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes shall be taken into consideration. Here the Constitution talks of adequate representation. It emphasizes on specific provisions of SC, ST communities who have been socially excluded due to discrimination prevailing for centuries and who are lagging behind compared to other sections of society on social and educational front, so as to bring them at par with other communities in public services, in judiciary and other social and government institutions. The policy of reservation is nothing but a mission of providing social representation to backward classes, which in turn is connected to the principle of social justice. And in the preamble of Constitution, social justice precedes economic and political justice. The scheme of reservation is aimed at social justice. All the myths surrounding the policy of reservation can be easily removed to a great extent if we replace the word reservation with the word representation. In a democracy, it is necessary to have representation of every section of population in proportion to its share in the total population in every section of society. Otherwise, a historically dominant class will control the society and its democratic institutions. Through this policy of representation, the Constitution in a deliberate manner tries to uplift such deprived classes by bringing them into social mainstream. This is directly derived from the ideals of social justice, and we have discussed about this in our videos on social justice. Now let us see the representation of all backward sections of society, which include SC, ST and OBC in the government and administration of Indian Republic, 68 years after we adopted our Constitution. There are 4 pillars of democracy: legislature, executive, judiciary and media. To better understand how low the representation of SC, ST and OBC, or to what extent they are underrepresented in all these 4 pillars, it is necessary to watch this entire video. Let us begin with the executive. We will discuss the findings of data-based MINT research compiled by Gilles Verniers of Ashoka University. This report gives data on caste composition of Union Cabinet from 1952 to 2014. According to this report, the representation of SC/ST group in Union Cabinet has continuously been very low as compared to their share in the population. This report indicates that the representation of upper caste, which largely is made up of Brahmins and who are mere 10% of the population, is around 85% in the cabinet. since 1952, and in the government form in 2014 it is 87.7%. For the first time, the scheduled tribes could get a place in the Union Cabinet only in 1971. The representation of OBC in the Union Cabinet is 20%, which is higher than that of SC/STs but far lower when compared to their population share. So the representation of SC/ST and OBC classes in Union Cabinet, which is the main policy making body, the decision makers has been continuously far lower since 1952. Now let us take the case of higher important administrative post. According to Dr. Ambedkar, the higher administrative posts are very important for their strategic values. They possess the authority to make rules which have the force of law. In 2010, in a reply to RTI filed by Yogendra Yadav, it was revealed that 71% of the top level posts of the bureaucracy are occupied by higher caste who make up only 12 to 14% of the population. Annual report of DOPT. According to the 2012 annual report of DOPT, that is Department of Personnel and Training of Government of India, the total population of OBC is 41.1%, but their representation in Group A services is only 8.4%, and in Group B it is 6.1%. STs are 4.5% in Group A and 5.7% in Group B, while they are 7.2% in the population. SCs are 11.6% in Group A and 15.3% in Group B, while they are 19.7% in the population. The forward caste was 30% of the population, occupy 75.5% of posts in Group A and 72.9% of Group B. Total share of SC/ST in government services appears to be at par with their population share, but a closer look would reveal that their representation in Group C and Group D services is far higher. In government services, 60% of Group D sweeper posts are filled by SC/ST category employees. The traditional graded inequality which is present in social economic sectors of Republic of India is visible in administrative sector also. In a reply to a query filed by Print in 2018, Government of India said that of the 81 secretary level officers, only 2 belong to SC categories and 3 to ST categories, while there were none from OBCs. It is regrettable that in the higher policy making authority, representation of SC/ST OBC is negligible. How can we expect that the welfare of backward classes is being taken into consideration in policy making by higher caste bureaucrats? After 25 years, almost 25 years after the implementation of Mandal Commission, the representation of OBC in higher administrative posts is almost negligible. Now let us look at representation of SC/ST among teachers in government colleges and universities. The government-run universities are bound to reserve 15% teachers post at all levels for Dalits and 7.5% for STs. A government report released in 2016 reveals that out of 14.1 lakh teachers in 716 universities and 38,056 colleges, only 1.02 lakh teachers were Dalits. According to the report, only 7.22% teachers are from SC community and 2.12 teachers are from ST community. According to the data given by Department of Personnel and Training, DOPT and HRD Ministry in reply to the RTI filed by Indian Express, there are 95.6% professor, 92.9% associate professor and 66.27% assistant professor from general category. Now if we see the representation of scheduled caste, there are only 3.47% professors, 4.96% associate professors and 12.2% assistant professor from SC category. From the ST category, there are only 0.7% professors, 1.3% associate professors and 5.46% assistant professors. There is no one from the OBC category appointed under reservation in the post of professor or associate professor in any central university. There are 14.38 assistant professors from OBC. Take the case of representation of SC/ST in higher educational institution of our country like IITs and IIM. To a question in Lok Sabha, Minister Prakash Javadekar replied that of the 6,043 faculty members in 23 IITs and 149 belongs to SC categories and 21 to the ST categories. In all, there are 169 teachers of SC/ST category. In other words, 2.8% faculty members belong to reserve category, while total reserve seats are 49.5%, for SC 15%, for ST 7.5% and OBC 27%. What is the situation in IIMs? Study report by Professor Deepak Malghan of IIM Bangalore and PhD fellow Siddharth Joshi titled Missing Scholars Social Exclusion at the Indian Institutes of Management is worth noting. The study collected the data spanning 4 decades through RTI and based on its analysis concluded that of the 500 faculty members in IIMs, there were only 2 belonging to SC, none from ST and 13 from OBC. The report further says that the major problem is the IIMs have forgotten that they are public institutions and as such they are not beyond the constitutional mandates. Now, after the implementation of new roster scheme, this percentage is bound to drop to further low levels. After this, we will look into the representation of SC, ST, OBC in the third pillar of democracy, that is judiciary. In 1999, then President of India, Mr. K.R. Narayan, commented on the file pertaining to the appointment of Honorable Supreme Court judges. I would like to record my views that while recommending the appointment of Supreme Court judges, it would be consonant with constitutional principles and the nation's social objectives if persons belonging to weaker sections of society like SC and ST, who comprise 25% of the population, and women are given due consideration. He further wrote that eligible persons from these categories are available and their low representation or non-representation in the Supreme Court is not justified. Kariya Munda Report 2000. Kariya Munda Committee on SC/ST welfare was made up of 20 Lok Sabha members and 10 Rajya Sabha members and was headed by Kariya Munda. The findings in the Munda Committee report were based on data, research and thus cannot be negated. The report mentions that based on the data till 1998, the committee is of the view that representation of SC/ST in higher judiciary is regrettable. The committee expressed surprise over the fact that of the 481 High Court judges, only 15 belonged to SC and 5 to ST category. Today there is no representation of SC/ST community in Honorable Supreme Court, while suitable, eligible, well-qualified candidates of SC/ST category are available. In a strong note, Kariya Munda Committee viewed that judges take oath to uphold the constitution and laws, but Supreme Court and a few high courts are claiming power above the constitution, practicing untouchability and are disobeying the constitution in regard to Article 16(4) and Article 16(4)(a). The committee report further says the administration of law and justice is intimately linked with social philosophy of the judiciary, and the social philosophy cannot be entirely separated from the social origins of those who dispense justice. During the last 8 years, since the retirement of Justice Balakrishnan in 2010, not a single Dalit judge has been elevated to the Supreme Court. On the recent verdict on the Honorable Supreme Court and SC/ST Act, a tweet by a senior lawyer, Ms. Indira Jaisingh of the Supreme Court, is worth noting. Ms. Jaisingh tweeted, "Two upper caste judges of the Supreme Court of India have turned the SC/ST Act from protecting SC/ST to protecting Brahmins. No surprise, the SC has no SC/ST judges at all." In other tweet she writes, "Time for SC/ST to say nothing about us without us." 18 years after the Kariya Munda report, last year the central government sought report from states on representation of SC/ST and OBC in the courts under the jurisdiction of 24 high courts. Only 11 smaller states responded. The report revealed that OBC judges in the lower judiciary are only 12%, SC judges are 14% and ST judges are 12%. Thus it shows that the representation of SC and OBC in lower judiciary is maintaining a low percentage. Now we will focus on representation of SC, ST and OBC in the fourth pillar of democracy, that is media. During the initial phase of struggle for emancipation of depressed classes, Dr. Ambedkar had launched the newspaper Mooknayak in 1920. Almost 100 years back, he had written in Mooknayak, in case of universal franchise is adopted, the electoral system should ensure caste-wise representation based on the proportion of each caste in the population. If Swaraj is assured in, all castes should share in the self-governance so that Swaraj does not become Brahmin Raj. After this, he also published weeklies like Janta, Brahishkrit Bharat. The aim of this was to raise the issue of plight of Dalits strongly before society and government. The then press was in the hands of higher caste and never framed the Dalit issue in right perspective. In What Congress and Gandhi Have Done to Untouchables, a 1945 book, Dr. Ambedkar, while accusing the press, writes that the press in India, which he termed as the Congress press, has created such an environment in the country and abroad that the world thinks the depressed classes are represented by the Congress alone. The entire press was in the hands of Brahmins. 5 decades after this, in 1996, Kenneth Cooper, a journalist of Washington Post who was of African American origin, published an article titled India's majority lower castes are minor in newspapers. Cooper writes in this article that India publishes 4,000 newspapers daily in 100 languages, but there is one voice missing. In the largest democracy of the world, there is one voice absent, and that is of the backward communities, which are 70% in the country. The background behind this article was that Kenneth Cooper was in Delhi when there was a news of clash between media men and Kashiram, the founder of BSP, along with BSP party leaders. Kenneth Cooper contacted a journalist, Mr. Unial of Pioneer, and tried to know if he knew any Dalit journalist. He in fact wanted a version of the incident from the perspective of the Dalit journalists. On 16 November 1996, in an excellent article, In Search of a Dalit Journalist, Unial writes that in his 30 years of life as a journalist, he never ever has met a Dalit journalist. 10 years after this article, in a survey in 2006 by Center for the Study of Developing Society, CSDS, it was noted that in Delhi, of the 37 decision makers of Hindi and English publications and 315 decision makers of TV channels, 90% decision makers in English print media and 79% of decision makers of TV channels belong to upper caste. 17 years later, in 2013, Delhi-based journalist and author Aizaz Ashraf, for a story wrote, could identify only 21 Dalit journalists across India. It is a matter of grave concern that a voice of 70% of the population is missing in our media. It required foreign journalists to bring this fact to our knowledge. In conclusion, the representation of Dalits is almost nil in the media. Lastly, we will discuss the representation status in the legislature. The lawmakers of MP and MLAs were elected to the legislative house both at the center and the state have SC/ST representation through provision of reserve constituencies as per Article 330 and Article 332 of the Constitution. Hence, SC/ST representation in legislature is in line with their share in the population. But the question is, are these representatives elected from reserve constituencies true representatives of the Dalits? The rising number of atrocities committed against SC/STs, the shrinking of the sphere of reservation, acquittal of accused in case of mob violence against Dalits indicate that the so-called representatives belonging to SC/ST categories have been an utter failure. Dr. Ambedkar had envisioned in the beginning, when he insisted on separate electorates in all the 3 round table conference, with the sole aim of getting the true representatives of scheduled caste elected. In Dr. Ambedkar words, the representatives elected from reserve constituency cannot truly represent the SC and STs. They are bound by the philosophy of the party to which they belong and thus are unable to take a stand independent of thinking of the party. The whip system further shackles them and they fail to cast an independent vote. In this video, we have seen that even 71 years after we gain independence, the representation of SC, ST, OBC in the four pillars of democracy falls short of social justice aims enshrined in the Constitution, and we must all strive to achieve these goals. We must understand that reservation is not PT or alms doled out, but it is essential way of ensuring social justice. Dr. Ambedkar had said the reservation demanded by servile classes are really controls over the power of governing classes. Dr. Ambedkar further says to ensure justice to all classes and to establish faith of all in the administration, there must be representation of all classes in the administration. We have discussed this in our last two videos. Jai Bhim.